Yo, what's up guys? PoE's Keepers of the Flame has been out for a few days now, and with it, this new league has really mixed up how the early game feels. Not only do we have these giant breach encounters appearing on our maps, we've got, the wave-based encounters, and then we've got the giant fortresses that can just appear randomly on your map. We also have the tree, the breach tree, which has completely changed the value of certain things. Crafting gear and certain things we would do with our gear were very, very important early on. Now you can just go to the tree and get a 6-link best-in-slot piece before you even finish, before you get to tier 16 maps. So today I want to talk about some of the best ways to farm, divines, chaos orbs early on, a way to do that in a very beginner friendly or new player friendly way. So if you're, new to PoE or you just haven't played in a while and you want a bit of a refresher, hopefully this will give you some very good ways to get ahead and hopefully just get yourself fully geared out and ready for endgame. So let's get straight into it. Okay, first I'm just going to do a quick guide or tutorial on how the Atlas works, because whether you're farming and making, 1 Chaos Orb an hour or 5 Divines an hour is going to depend on how well you've set up your Atlas. And if you're new, you might not have a clue what that means. So if you know all this, just skip ahead. I'm going to timestamp all this anyway, so you can just skip to the next section. So with the Atlas, what I would suggest is as you are progressing through the end game, you're going from tier 1 maps to tier 16 maps, and you're doing all the bosses and getting your void stones and all that stuff. Use your Atlas in a way that it does what it needs, and what it needs to do is generate you more maps. So you can see there's nodes like this where you can have like tier 1 to 5 maps have chance to be 1 to high. You can do things like that to get you more maps, but you should also be funneling into an activity that while you're in those maps is dropping you lots and lots of items that you can sell for divines. And it's very important for speed and efficiency to do the mechanics you are spec'd into. So right now, this tree, there's multiple trees, you can have multiple trees. This tree here is fully set into harvest. And as I played through the end game, as I got my first 10 points, I went and got some harvest nodes. I got my first 50 points. I went and got more harvest nodes. I hit 100 points, and then I had all the harvest nodes, or however many points I'm on now. Like I am on 100 right now. As you get more and more points, you can go to more and more nodes, and you can make your maps more and more valuable. And a very easy beginner mistake to make is to think, oh, I'll just think about that later, and I'll just focus on doing the maps. And then you've done like 100 maps, and you've missed out on so many divines. So start pathing your way around something you're interested in early on, and that's going to really help you out. If you don't know how to get Atlas points, the simplest way to explain it is here's the map levels. So you can see 1, 2, 3, etc. And they're broken down into sections. You have white maps, yellow maps, and red maps. They're 1 to 5, they're 5 to 10, and they're 10 to 16. And every time you complete a map and you complete the bonus on the map, you will get 1 Atlas point. So you can see here a level 1 map, and we take this map here, and you can see here the Atlas bonus has been complete. You can hold Alt on the map, and you can see the Atlas map has been complete, and the bonus objective has been complete. So you'll get an Atlas point for doing that. So make sure every single map type, Academy, Bone Crypt, Shipyard, Thicket, all on tier 1 would get you all of those Atlas points for those areas. When you get into yellow maps, to hit the bonus, the Atlas bonus, you need to run these on rare. So you need to make sure you're running these on rare, which means, this wouldn't work. This would get you the map completion, but wouldn't get you the bonus. So you need to make sure you've done this, made it yellow, made it rare by using you use an alchemy orb very easily just to make it yellow. And then the red maps, these again, similarly to get the bonus complete, you need to corrupt them. So they need to be corrupted, which means you need to use a Val Orb on them. So that's a very important thing to know early on, is that you're running these maps, you're getting the bonus completion, and as you go through, you're making sure that you're getting more and more maps that are fully complete, just like this. So make sure you're doing that and unlocking all of your Atlas points, because an Atlas tree with 20 points just here is going to make you significantly less than an Atlas with like 130 points. So that's tip 1. Now let's get into how to actually use that to get loads of drops. Okay, so the first thing I'd recommend this league is Harvest. Harvest is good for 2 reasons. 1, it is in its own instance. So it's in the map. So all of the benefits from your Atlas going into the map are counted. So however juiced your map is makes the stuff in the Harvest as rewarding. And it's also instanced in the map, which means if you have like these big breach things, or you have a really bad map that's like narrow corridors, it doesn't matter because Harvest is in its own area. Second thing that's make this is really good early on is you're not relying on drops. You're not hoping you get a good drop or hoping you get a divine that from that event. You get life force. You defeat the plants, you get life force, and then you just sell those on the exchange. Like if I go to the exchange right now, if I go to Fastus, I go to the exchange and I say, I want chaos orbs, I have, and then I just type in life force. I've done a few today. I've got 5,000 of this life force. So 5,500 life force will get me 78 chaos orbs, which is huge. That's like nearly a divine. And I've only done a few maps today. So I've only done a few harvests on my maps today. So that's a really good way to guarantee a significantly large amount of chaos orbs and divines as you go through. If you do, 10, 20 maps, you're getting divine after divine after divine from this. What's the best way to farm this? I would say it depends on how many Atlas points you have. If you are low on the Atlas points, I would ignore this section down here, and I'll talk about this in a sec. And I would just highlight harvest and just get all the harvest nodes here. I'd get this cluster here, which gives you, harvest monsters give you more experience and get an additional monster. Great while you're leveling and mapping. The groves have a chance to have an additional harvest. Down here, you've got your maps have a chance to contain the sacred grove, because early on we're not using scarabs and we're not using, the chaos orbs to guarantee stuff on our maps. This helps just have them more often on our maps. You come to here and you've got things like life force dropped by monsters, a 10% chance to be duplicated, increased quantity of life force. And then you also have this section in here, which is harvest crops have a 6% increased chance to contain a tier 4 plant and have a 10% chance for the crops not to wilt. And then by using this, you can also cluster into the middle to get quantity and rarity of items. Okay, so assuming we don't take crop harvest early on, the way this works is you find a sacred grove, you go in it, there'll be batches of crops together. You want to go in and you want to find these crops together and pick which one you want to harvest. The one you harvest, you can then loot, and the other one will wilt. You want to get the one that has the most tier 4 crops. And you can see as they go down, the higher tier at the bottom. So the one that has the biggest number on the bottom, the glowy big number at the bottom, you want to get as much of that as possible, as they will drop the most of the life force. So try and find the one that has the most tier 4 crops. If they are all the same, try and pick the yellow ones, because the yellow is worth a little bit more, at least right now. So that's it really for the crop harvest. Now, this gets significantly more difficult when you take crop rotation. Now, this isn't going to be a full crop rotation guide, but basically with crop rotation, once you have a crop harvest node, it turns the groves into a minigame. It turns the harvest into a minigame. And I've got one here to show you live as we go through this. So the way this will work is no longer are these harvests worth a lot on their own. So before, you would come over to these and they would have 4 or 5 different lines, loads and loads of monsters. Now, the way this works is every single crop you'll see here has nothing in it. It all just has tier 1 low tier crops, which means you're not going to get anything from it. And as you complete one crop, all of the crops of a different color will upgrade. So basically, as you do the blues, the purple and the yellows will upgrade. And then if you go and do the purples, the yellows will upgrade. So you're basically doing lots of bad crops to really pump up the final crop. So you can see here, yellow is the most valuable, as we've already mentioned. So we would want to pump up the yellow crops. So to do that, we want to harvest all the other crops in the area. So if we come over here, we've got 2 blue clusters. We will just pick whichever has the most. This one's got 14 and 9. We'll use this one. So we'll clear this double blue, pretty much cleared. And then we can come up to here and we have a blue and a purple. So if we clear you can see the purple is now upgraded. Look, the purple now has 3, whereas the blue hasn't upgraded because we're upgrading all of the others. So if we do another blue now, we'll upgrade these purples, and these yellows. So we'll do another blue now, just like this. We'll come over to these purples. Okay, and you can see from clearing these, we got a little chunk of life force already. We'll clear this last cluster of purples, and the yellows should really start to juice up. So again, this shouldn't be too difficult. So now we come over to the yellows, and you can see we have a choice. We can either do this one here, which has 7, or we can do this one, which now has a boss monster. We can fight this, and this will give a significantly large amount of drops. Okay, so we beat this, and then you can see here we got 388, which I think is going to be 5 or 6 chaos on its own. So if we take all these, from that alone, that one harvest, if we go to the exchange and we put in exactly what we had, we got 600 of this, so 600 for chaos orbs. That's around, and I'm just going to trade these just so you can see, that's around 7 orbs. And then we didn't get any of the blue, but we got 1,400 of the yellow. So 1451 is 21 chaos. So you can see from that alone, it took a minute, 2 minutes, and we got 28 chaos orbs. And this is every single map is going to be like this. So once you have enough, This is such an easy farm. You can do so many of these an hour. And because we're talking about, early farms, I'm not going to give you a list of like 6 scarabs to put on every single map. If you do want to use a scarab, I would go with this, increased magic pack size, because pack size is going to give you significantly more crops, which will give you more life force. This one is pretty good as well. The Scarab of Hordes, influence monsters have increased pack size. And then finally, the Scarab of Doubling, life force in the area is duplicated. Harvest monsters have 100% more life force. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Let's get on to the next one. Okay, now let's talk about Legion. Legion is both better and worse because on the one hand, it requires a lot less brain power. Legion is just, you fill your map with more things and more things drop more things. It's the simplest thing of more monsters, doing more things, more chests, more rewards. So it's very, if you want a zero brain, zero thought way to get into early farming, Legion is the way to go. However, there are downsides. The downsides would be, one, as we talked about Breach, because Breach can just appear. If a Breach appears next to your Legion, you're losing a good chunk of the map to the Breach, right? Worried about the map you're running, because if you are running a map that doesn't have a wide open space, the Legion will not work, right? It will work, but you'll get much less rewards. So if you're running like a narrow corridor, or you're running like a valley that goes through a small area, and the Legion is in that small area, your Legion is almost useless because you will only spawn a couple of monsters. You will need a big open field, so it is kind of determined on your maps, which sucks while you're leveling. And it is also determined on where your layout of different things end up being. However, it's just brainless. It's just brainless. And if I open up the Atlas tree, all I would do is look for the Legion nodes, and you can see them here. There are lots at the top, so you can see there's if we highlight them, you've got this cluster here, you've got this cluster here, this cluster here, this cluster here, and this cluster here. So you can just go and get these as you want. I would also recommend going into the shrines, because this is an on-map thing. You're not going into an instance, it's on the map. I would also go into the shrines, because then you can find shrines and that will make you stronger and help you to clear them. You can have additional shrines. You can have like things that boost the shrines. So you can have things like guarded by more packs, which puts more monsters on your map, 30% increased effective shrine buffs. So things like that will make the map feel easier while you're doing it. I've tried a few things as well, like Beyond Monsters. I've tried looking at like Exile, Abyss, mixing it with different things, and pretty much anything you try and do with Legion will work. Want to do Legion and Breaches? It works. Want to do Legion and Abyss? It works. Want to mix it with, Eater of Worlds? It works. Any way you want to add in different things that you like, it works with Legion, because Legion is a brain dead activity, right? So I would definitely recommend this while leveling, because you just can't go wrong. It's just more stuff to drop. And then the drops you're getting, they are a bit more hit and miss. You're hoping to find like rare things like Divines and Chaos Orbs, but generally all the other stuff, you need to just keep farming in big quantities and just shove it all on the exchange. Just keep farming in big quantities and shove everything you find on the exchange. So that's what you're looking for. You can have things like incubators. You can have stuff like stacked decks. You're going to have the actual Legion resources that you can just pull up and sell in like when they hit a big enough quantity to sell for Chaos Orbs. You can do that. So there's splinters and stuff like that. So generally everything you find, you just throw on. And this isn't going to be like some big hit. You're just increasing the amount you get per map, which is always a good thing and effortless. Now, another good chunk of profit you're going to get here is from the incubators, because incubators drop a lot in Legion. So if you're doing them, you should use them. What is an incubator? They are these little egg type things, and you right click them, you use them on your equipment, and it will incubate your equipment. Now, this will put an effect on your equipment based on the incubator. So if you use like an equipment incubator, it will put an effect that says, defeat 4,000 monsters and get some equipment. If you have a currency one, you will use that and it will say defeat, 5,000 monsters and get a chunk of currency. So you are getting a bunch of drops from farming more and more monsters. So if you just constantly have all your equipment just filled with incubators, you're going to get loads and loads more rewards, and you're not going to run out of these because they drop so much in Legion. So that's why it works really, really well. They are the two things I would recommend while mapping. Okay, now some other tips that I would give if you are looking to make more and you're feeling like you're just not getting enough. You make like 10 Chaos Orbs and then you look and the item you want is 3 Divines. How can you make more? Well, here's some tips. Number one is if you're new, you have no idea the items you have and what their value is, and that's a problem. These are my scarabs right now. I'm going to be honest, I've got no idea what any of these scarabs are worth. And if you're just finding items and just doing this, and just dashing them away, you could just be shoving something in your stash worth like 100 Chaos Orbs. And there's no way to know. So one thing I would recommend getting in the habit of doing, if I just pull a bunch of these out, and I'll just do this. If I just pull a bunch out, and then as well, if you go into like your, say something else that you just grab these. What I would do is, as you're doing maps, before you just dash everything away, try and get an idea of what things are worth. So throw this in here, and you'll see, oh, 13 of them are 1 Chaos Orb, or 200 of them are 1 Chaos Orb. This one here, oh, this is worth 12 Chaos Orbs. Okay, I'll sell it. Oh, 13, I'll sell it. What's this one worth? This one's not worth so much. What's this one worth? 1. You know, all these aren't worth that much, but you know, I made 13, and this one's worth 6, so I'll sell this one. I've got 3 of these, so that's, you know, 18 Chaos Orbs. That's one thing I would get in the habit of doing, is just before you throw everything away, just try and get a rough idea of what it's worth. And then once you're confident that you don't have anything crazy valuable on you, then start putting it all away. Next thing is, do not sleep on King's March. King's March is a ridiculous amount of items for no time. You know, while you're running maps, that is working for you. If you've never got involved with King's March, maybe try and find a guide on it. But generally speaking, it turns your gold into other items. You set it up, you hire workers, they go and work for you, and then they farm, they mine the things you find in the maps, they turn them into bars, and then you ship them out, and then they return, and they give you tons and tons of resources. If you want a really simple explanation, just get some farmers and hire, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 farmers, and then hire a couple of people to work on the ships and farm and send that out. That's the basicest thing you can start doing now to start bringing in returns. You know, my second shipment on like day 1 returned a divine, which was huge early on, you know, while just at the very start of endgame. So that's something I would try and start putting time into. It's a good place to dump your gold if you're not doing like tons of crafting and you need to buy loads of items. And the only other thing is, use the new breach tree, the new league mechanic, the breach tree. Make sure you're using this. The items you get from this are ridiculous. You can get divines from the currency section. You can get 6th link items from the equipment section. The mysterious one also drops some really cool stuff. So yeah, make sure you're using this, and make sure you're actually spending the time to clear the breaches in your maps so that you find the stuff to level this up and to get all the skill points, and then to also get the drops from this. But yeah, hopefully that helped. If you have any questions, or you want to see anything in particular, if you want to see a guide on a specific mechanic, or you want to see some more, you know, high investment late game farming, let me know. But that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you in the next one.